Hi guys, Shem here. Welcome back to the channel. So, are you a consultant? Do you do a bunch of work and you have a bunch of rates that you use, and especially if it's like busy work, office type work, analytics, consulting type work where you have to like track your time and then you have a billable hour based on your time? If you are, then this video could be really useful for you. If you're not, then this video is going to show you how to use Excel to do some really cool stuff and automate a bunch of calculations in a sheet. So stick around regardless. But I do want to say, if you want time tracking software for your company, maybe you have a bunch of employees and you want to track their productive time. I don't know why you would do that in this day and age, just do outcomes and deliverables, but hey, do what you want. See, I use it for myself. If I want to track how much time I spent reviewing a report, how much time I spent analyzing a specific data set, things like that, then there's a bunch of different software online that can help you with that. Most of them are freemium, in the sense that you get a free version and it has limited features, but usually those limited features are more than enough for you. They all can be very valuable to you, so check them out. TimeCamp, Timely, QuickBook Time, and Clockify. Time tracking software to help you if you have a company and you want to track employee hours and then maybe go ahead to bill clients based on the amount of hours the different employees have spent on the different tasks. Or if you're a consultant and you're just one person and you want to track the amount of time you took to do a specific task, and then after which bill the client based on your hourly rate and the amount of time you spent doing that specific task. But if you're like me and in this particular case you don't really feel like you need software for that, especially if you're just an individual consultant, then Excel or Google Sheets. So today I'm going to show you how to use Google Sheets to create a time tracker for a consultant. It has a few formulas, so don't get scared, but you're going to learn how to use something called an array formula in Google Sheets. The rest are pretty basic. It's just if formulas, though instead of the if function, we'll also use ifs, which is just the if function, plus s, which is fantastic. It can sort of substitute the if function and you may never have to use the if function again. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is what the final product looks like. Okay, so what we have here is just the total hours and the bill that you will eventually send to the client. And then now the details, we have a sort of serial number for each task, and then we have the different companies, and we have a date, and we have the activities, and we have the work mode, which is just the way I bill my consulting hours. It's either I'm doing it virtually or I'm doing it physically. If I'm physically going to your office, then that rate is different. If I'm doing it from the comfort of my home, then that rate is different, okay? And then the duration. So the duration is really the only part of this sheet that you really have to enter manually, which is the amount of time. Now in this case, you could use just a regular timer on your watch or on your phone, or using some sort of clock that you have to just time starting the task and then stop when you're done with the task. So that's what I would do, just to not overcomplicate it. And then you have your sort of hourly rates based on virtual or physical. And then in the end, it's the total that is calculated based on the duration and the hourly rate. And then these totals here get added up and populate here, as well as these total hours get added up here and they come here, okay? So let me show you how to build this. We're going to start from easy and then we're going to get a little more complicated as we go up, okay? So first of all, what I did was the serial numbers. So I just want you to look inside, and I'm just going to increase the zoom a bit, just so you see, okay? So I want you to take a look at the formula in here. Okay, looks a bit crazy, but what I use is a sequence function. And what the sequence function does is it helps you generate a list of data or an array of data based on just one function. So for example, if you wanted to create a list of 20 things, then you just use the sequence function instead of manually typing 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 20, okay? So how does the sequence function work? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this and then just do it again. Okay, so what I want is I want the serial number to update every time I enter a company, okay? So in this case, what I've done is I've created a drop-down list of all the different companies I consult for. As you can see, very aspirational on my part, but hey, my dreams are valid, okay? The first way to do it, the first way to use sequence, okay, is it takes rows, columns, the number you want to start with, and the sequence of numbers that you want to add. So for example, if I want, let's say 6 rows of data, I would put 6 there. How many columns of data do I want? I only want 1 column, which is the serial number column that I'm in. And then I want it to start from the number 1. And then I want it to skip every one figure. Okay, I press enter, and like that, it gives me six numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's why sequence is really cool. But I don't want to do this because then you have to come here, and then when you reach down here, you'll have to add 7 automatically. We need it to be more dynamic. Okay, so to make it dynamic, what I did was I coupled the sequence function. So inside rows, what I do, because what I'm really counting is every time a new company is added to the company column, I want sequence to add the number automatically, so we don't have to keep adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so to do that, I use the count A function. What count A does is it counts every entry in a given range as long as that range is not empty. Okay, so I use count A, and what I'm telling Google Sheets in this case is I want it to count the values from this cell here, which is B5. Okay, so B5 to B, which is really just saying I want it to select the entire column. I'm going to remove that helper text just because it's blocking right now. But you see, when I do B5 to B, Google Sheets selects the entire range. Okay, so I close that up. Okay, and now I'm back in the sequence function, and I can click that question mark so you see where we're going. Once again, how many columns? Just 1. Starting with what? 1. How many steps? 1. Enter. Like that. You see what happens? Now the numbers fill up automatically up to 4. If I come down here and I add another number like cooking company, as you can see, updates automatically. Okay? Now, if you want to do serial numbers like a cool person where you do 001, 002 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, the first thing you want to do is we want to convert this to an array formula. What an array formula is it just tells Excel to just keep looking throughout the entire range and update it accordingly. That may be a bit complex. This isn't the video for you to understand the array formula completely, but just follow along. Shortcut for adding an array formula is to click inside the formula bar right there and hit Control Shift and Enter. And as you can see, Excel or Google Sheets automatically makes it an array formula. But now what I want to do is I want to add right there inside the array formula, I want to add 00, and I'm going to use the and sign. What the and sign does is it combines a bunch of different features together. It could be text, could be numbers. In this case, I want to add 00 to the number that comes out of here. Okay? So 00 and then this number. So I just add it inside that array formula like that. Okay? And I press enter, and as you can see, all of them now have 001, 002. It's like magic, right? One function down, several more to go. All right, so we are done with that right now using our sequence function. And as you can see, it only exists in this first cell. The subsequent cells don't really have any formulas, but everything is tied to this first one, so don't mess with this one. I'm definitely going to leave this sheet in the description below. I might have to protect this cell that has the formulas just so you don't mess it up and start crying. But okay, so now let's go to the next place. So for company, all I did was I used data validation. You should know how to use data validation by now if you've been following me. But just a quick recap, what I do is I select the entire range I want to put the validation. I go up to data, I go to data validation. I select from this range, I select list of items, and then I just enter the items right in there separated by commas, okay? Once I'm done with that, I click save, and there you have it, okay? But now what I've done is, for some reason, it has removed them because I've done it again. So let me just undo. So I undo and then they are back. But that's how you do data validation, okay? This column has dates, and I'm just going to delete them. And I want to show you the shortcut for adding a date automatically is to hold down Control and the semicolon, and that will automatically add the date in that specific format, okay? Again, that's Control and the semicolon. This is on a PC, so I'm using a Mac, so I'm using Command and semicolon, but on a PC, it should be Control and semicolon, and that will give you the date automatically, so you don't have to type manually. Activities, you will also have to enter this manually. I forgot about that. Let me just make that red as well. So you will have to enter these two automatically, and that will probably be just telling the person what you were doing. So me, I just put analytics, analytics, analytics. I'm going to add analytics there as well, okay? But yeah, so then next we go to work mode. Work mode is again another data validation. In this case, there are only two options. It's either virtual or physical. So you know how to do that now. Then we come here to duration. Duration, you have to enter the time manually, the time you will get from your watch or your device you're using to time the amount of time you're taking to do a specific task. So once you figure out that amount of time, you will enter that value in here directly. Even if it's an hour and a half, you can do 1.30, things like that. Don't cheat yourself. Put the full value there or round up. Hey, do what you gotta do, okay? But then, so now we come to bill per hour for hourly rate. Now what I wanted to do was I wanted to use a formula that would automatically fill out a value when I select virtual or physical. And if you see here, right now it's virtual in work mode, because in this example, a virtual working session is worth $25 an hour and a physical working session is worth $50 an hour, okay? So I want to create a formula that allows me to, that auto-populates the hourly rate here depending on what appears in work mode, okay? So for example, you see here I have virtual. If I select physical, this number changes to 50 automatically, okay? So how do we do that? So to do that, I use an ifs formula, ifs, IFS, the if from the if function, okay? Take a look inside this formula bar. Looks a bit intimidating. Again, I use an array formula, and now you know what an array formula is. For an array formula, it just helps me repeat the calculation that I did in the first cell down throughout the entire column, okay? That's what it's for. I actually did a bit of array formulas way back sometime last year when I was creating an order form. If you haven't watched that video, it's really helpful for small businesses. If you haven't, check the video right here. I'll also leave a link in the description just in case. I'm going to break down what we are seeing here just so we can be a little less intimidated. So I'm going to remove the array formula part first and just deal with the ifs part of it. What I'm going to do is select everything in here and delete, and let's start from scratch, okay? So instead of using the if formula, so the if formula returns a value depending on a logical expression. Now what ifs does is it returns a value depending on multiple logical expressions. So ifs is just the if function on steroids. The if function can only check one condition at a time unless you combine it with if and if or, but using ifs allows you to check multiple conditions at the same time, okay? So let's get into it, okay? And what we are checking is inside the work mode column. I want to check and see what's inside here and return an hourly rate based on whether it's physical, virtual, or empty, okay? So the first condition I check is if it's empty. A function for checking if a cell is empty is called isBlank, and I just want isBlank to check inside this column. So I'm just going to say E, starting from E, we're in E5, starting from E5 to E, which just means the entire column. As you can see, the entire column is selected. isBlank just checks if that range is true or false. So as you can see, the ifs formula here takes a condition and then the value. If it's blank, I want it to return nothing, okay? So that's it. So I'm just going to put nothing there and just go skip to the next condition. The next condition I want to check is if E, the values in E5 to E, again, same range, if they equal to virtual, okay? And if they equal to virtual, I want them to return 25, okay? Because that's the hourly rate for virtual. Then the next condition I want to check is if E5 to E equals physical. You have to put the value in quotation marks if it is in text format. Otherwise, Excel won't know what to do with whatever you're sharing. Okay, so that condition is if E5 to E is equal to physical, and for that, I want it to return 50. Okay, at that point, we are good to go. And I press enter, and as you can see, Excel is asking me to autocomplete that. And I press command enter, and it will autofill that. But now, the challenge that we have is if you come here and you enter virtual, and as you can see what happens, everything is getting autofilled automatically. But so now you see, when I keep going downwards, I want every time I update this, I want the figure here to update automatically. That's why we have to use the array formula. So I have to go back to the original place. I have to click inside here, and all I do is Command Shift Enter. If you're on a PC, then it's Control Shift Enter. I press enter, and now it just gives me a small error which I have to just fix really quickly. So I have to just take these out first. There we go. So it won't allow me to use the array formula if I already have entries below. That's why it was giving me an error. But now that I've done that, so I just make it an array formula. And now that I've made it an array formula, I just sort of wrap our initial ifs formula, which is this one. I wrap it in this array formula. And now what we're able to do is if I come down here and I select physical, updates automatically. If I come down here and select physical, it updates automatically. You see that? Let me just delete that, okay? So I'm also just going to delete these right here, just because we're not there yet, okay? So here, so we've done that. We've found a way to automate the billing, the billable hours, and tie them to the specific work mode, either physical or virtual or empty, okay? Using an array formula that allows it to update automatically. Again, because the reason why I'm creating this template is because I want you to write as little as possible, or have as little input into the document as possible. All you have to come in here and do is enter your time and the company you're consulting for, and everything else is easy breezy, okay? Now, the next and really the final part of this process is now I want us to calculate the total, okay? Again, now let's go back inside here. Let's take a look at our formula. You should be familiar with array formula by now, okay? Now we have an if function, not an ifs, and it's checking to see if f to f is blank, and if f to f is blank, then it's saying do nothing. Otherwise, multiply whatever is in f to f by whatever is in g to g. As you can see, the f column is the duration. In order to get the total, we have to multiply the duration by the billable hours. As you can see here, 2 times 50 equals 100, okay? So how do we do that? Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it and start from scratch, okay? Because I want you to see how I did that, okay? So as you can see, when I press an equal sign, Excel is automatically telling me to multiply this figure by this figure, and we are on the right path, but again, the issue is that I want it to be dynamic. If we do this, if I press tab, then every time we have another entry, we'll have to come down inside here and copy the formula downwards like this to be able to get the values. But we don't want to do that because we're not basic, okay? So what we do instead is I come here and I use the if formula, okay? And what I'm saying is I want to first of all check if the value inside this cell, which is the duration cell, is the one where we manually enter. So it's the one which can be empty sometimes if we haven't entered. Okay, so I want to check if the values from F5 to F, which is the entire duration column, as you can see there, I want to check if they're blank. And if it's blank, I want it to return nothing. Okay? However, then if it's not blank, what I want to do is I want to multiply the value inside here, which is F to F, times the value inside here, which is G5 to G. Okay? Like I want them to keep multiplying down the entire column. That's really the goal of this. Okay? So I press enter, I autofill, there we go. And now the thing is, just to make it clear again, like last time, we have to make it an array formula so that it keeps multiplying automatically. So that, for example, if I come here and I put 2, I come here and I put 2, and I put virtual, as you can see, it doesn't calculate automatically, okay? So in order to get these automatic calculations, what we have to do is come back here, and again, Command-Shift-Enter, make it an array formula. Again, it gives me an error because there are figures in here, but there we have it. Once I delete them, Excel is able to autocomplete them like this, okay? So now if you do a new gig, and you do physical, and you did it for 4 hours, the money is calculated automatically. I want to delete these because I just made them up because we don't have companies tied to them. I want the table to look nice and neat. The last part that we have to deal with is the auto calculation of total hours and the bill, okay? So to do that, I want to just zoom down a bit, okay, just so we can see everything in the same frame. Okay, so now, to make sure that the total hours are calculating automatically, what I do is we use a sum function, just a regular sum function as we're seeing here. What I do is like =, sum, and we want to sum up all the values in the duration column, okay? So you could come here and open up the sum function and then just select this, okay? But this isn't efficient because we want to anticipate that our column could get bigger over time, okay? So instead of saying F5 to F19, we say F5 to F, and this will select the column, and whenever we add new rows, okay, the function will continue to add any additional time figures that appear there, okay? So at that point, I just close the bracket, and there we have it. It has calculated 12. If you want to check if it's right, you select these figures, and then you check down here, you see 12, and so we are absolutely correct, okay? We do the same thing for the bill. We want to calculate the total amount of money that the client owes us. To do that, again, I'm just going to delete this and do it from scratch. We use the sum function again. Now we want to calculate everything in this total column right here, okay? So again, you could do that manually and select everything in the column, but to make it more dynamic, what you do is just make it H5 to H, close the bracket, press enter, and voila. So now, if we create a fresh entry from scratch, all we have to do is come in here, select the company, let's do Tesla, serial number gets added there, we add the date, we say analytics, we come here, we say it's physical because my dreams are valid, we come here and say we took 5 hours there, that's automatically added to 250, and automatically, as you can see here, the bill has increased as well as the hours. Fantastic, right? But yeah, so that's it. This is how you can create a time tracker if you're a consultant that will allow you to keep track of your hours and the total amount of money that the client owes you, all in one place using a few relatively complex formulas. But hey, this video is going to be with you forever, so you can always go back to those formulas if you need to understand them a little bit better. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.